Good afternoon. It's Friday, November 8th in Altoona, Iowa. At 9:30 this morning, I was at a bakery in Ankeny, Iowa, about 15 minutes from here. I was there to attend a political event put on by the senator from Minnesota who's running for president. I just realized I don't know how to pronounce her last name, so I'll call her Amy K for the purposes of this video, and I promise I'll learn how to pronounce her last name. It was an interesting event, and for the first time I really felt like this was an opportunity for Iowa voters to go one-on-one with a presidential candidate. The event was supposed to start at 9:30. I got there 5 minutes early is all. Parking was not difficult. It was a large bakery actually, but there was seating in booths and whatnot. And I think almost all of the people there were attending the political event. She was fairly late. I stopped keeping track as it approached 10. Certainly it was after 9:45 before she appeared. When she did come, she was introduced by a nonpartisan or neutral Iowa Democrat who's running for the legislature, who gave a very informative introduction. And then she spoke for about 20 minutes or 21 minutes. And then to my surprise, she said she was going to answer questions from pretty much everyone there, one-on-one, without a microphone. And she proceeded to work around this long conference table, which you will see in the videos, and chatted with the person sitting there, answering whatever questions there were. All of the people at that long conference table were women, which was a surprise. There were a number of men in attendance, and it was a friendly crowd. My impressions of Amy, very favorable. First of all, perhaps it's an odd thing to say, but the woman is much prettier than she appears on television. She's a very pretty woman. She did not have a shell about her like Senator Harris does, so there wasn't any issue with that shell falling away. Like Senator Bennett, who I continue to support, I think she feels very comfortable in Iowa. I think she views Iowa voters as being, in essence, the same as Minnesota voters. And I learned at this event that she has an extraordinary track record in Minnesota. She has won all of her statewide races, been elected to the Senate twice. She's carried every congressional district in Minnesota every time she ran. She carried, I believe it's in the video, something like 30 counties in Minnesota last year, in 2018, when she won re-election, that Trump had carried 2 years earlier. I'm only going to include about 9 minutes of her talk because those 9 minutes convey her warmth and her approach very well. And they also explain a fair amount about Iowa. I may well put the other 12 minutes up as a separate video at a later time, but I'm going to guess you don't want to watch 21 minutes of Amy K at a bakery in Iowa. If you do, I'll put the other one up later and add a link to it somewhere. A couple of other observations. The bakery was excellent. Her staff work seemed to me to be excellent. There were a number of young people there, usually in an Amy t-shirt, chatting with folks in a low-key, understated way. I had a nice chat with the person, and he told me quite a bit about her record in Minnesota, which I enjoyed hearing. One other aspect that was surprising, when I first got there, I asked where the senator would be speaking, and they pointed to a reserved sign in the middle of a table, and I set up my cameras at some distance, but where I could still have a good view of her. And then I realized there were 3 big television cameras set up facing a different direction, and I am learning, so I knew that the senator would speak wherever she would be in range and in focus for the TV cameras. I then moved over there. I chatted with the people present. There were national cameras from Fox, CBS, and NBC. There was a local news channel, the NBC affiliate, who was there, and that cameraman told me that the footage would be up on the noon newscast here in Des Moines. Everyone was cordial, no one got in anyone else's way, and it was frankly surprising to see 3 out of the 4 national networks covering this bakery event, which was attended by no more than 100 voters.
Second challenge that we've got is environmental challenges, and we have them in the state, things like climate change. I think you know what's going on there. And there, I think the answer is here. It's here in Iowa, it's all over our country. We're gonna be able to ramp up research if we do this right. We're gonna be able to bring greenhouse gases down, but we've gotta set standards to do that. And that's why on day one, I would get us back into the International Climate Change Agreement. To bring back those clean power standards, and on day 3, get us back into the gas mileage standards that Donald Trump is trying to fight every single day that we have in California. Other things that I think we need to do, bridge that rural-urban divide. No one will be better than me. I'm the only one on that debate stage that chose to and loved being on the Agriculture Committee, and have spent a lot of time working on those issues. I think other challenges we have in our country, rising debt, and that's why I've been so focused on making sure that we pay for things so the kids in this room don't have that debt on their shoulders, so that we can actually get these things done and at the same time whittle that deficit down, because it is going to be on their shoulders if we don't do something about it. There's an old Ojibwe saying that great leaders make decisions not for this generation, but for 7 generations from now. And that's what we have to think about. This president, by the way, can't keep decisions 7 minutes from now. So, how do we get all this done? And there's other issues that'll maybe go around. We can talk about healthcare being one, taking on the pharmaceutical industry, bringing those premiums down. How do we get all this done? Well, we only get it done if we not just win, but we win big. We cannot eke out a victory at 3 in the morning with one state. That's not where we want to be. We don't want to be on pins and needles watching TV at 3 in the morning. No, we want to be celebrating as these victories come in states like the Senate seat in the state of Iowa, right? And Arizona, and in Colorado, and in Maine, because if we win big, and there's every indication if we can win in Kentucky, we can get this done. But the only way we really get it done is if we have a candidate that gets this and that we don't screw it up. That's how I felt when I watched those elections. Like, it is there for our taking. It is there for the country's taking to take back our democracy, and we cannot screw it up. And that means understanding that these policy issues that I just talked about are important, and we know that we are having major issues right now with income inequality, and that Trump's done all this stuff to help the people at the top, and we're going to be able to make that case in a big way to workers, including people that voted for him. But we have to understand something else that's fundamental that's going on right now. People are having a crisis about our democracy. They want a values check on this guy. They want a patriotism check on this guy. They have seen what he's doing, and they have realized that they don't want their kids growing up in a country where he is president for 4 more years, where they have to turn the volume down every time he gets on TV. That's why you see people like Andy McCain, your legislator in the state of Iowa, who was a Republican for decades, change parties last spring because he said his conscience couldn't tolerate it anymore. I was at an event with him out in a barn last weekend, and he quoted the McCarthy hearings. Some of you are too young to know about that, but there was a guy named Joe McCarthy who was really bad, who was a member of Congress, and he was going after people for their political beliefs. And there was this dramatic moment in the hearing where a lawyer looked at him and said, "Have you no sense of decency, sir? Have you no sense of decency?" That's what Andy McCain said when he was talking about Donald Trump. So we have to remember that part of it. And when I say don't screw it up, I mean capture that emotion and capture those beliefs as we go forward and lead this ticket. And I think you know that is what I've been doing from the day I announced in the middle of the snowstorm with 4 inches of snow on my head. It is the reason that I keep focusing on the fact that Trump is putting his business interests and his political interests and his partisan interests in front of the interests of our country. That's what he's doing. And it is the sentiment of this rancher who I met in Minnesota, which for me was the first sign that something was changing. This was over a year ago, who said to me, you know, I voted for him because I was mad. And then there was that moment at the Boy Scout rally. That's what he said. He said, I was a Boy Scout, I watched that, and it made me cry. And that was the moment, because he gave a political speech Trump did to a bunch of Boy Scouts. That was a moment that I couldn't stand it anymore. Or this guy in line in New Hampshire was taking pictures, and everyone in front of him had stickers on that said, I'm a Supreme Court voter, I'm a climate change voter, I'm a this voter, and he had no sticker on. And I said, you don't have a sticker on. And he whispered, that's because I was a Trump voter. But don't tell anyone in line. I'm not voting for him again. And you feel this big time in Iowa because you have over 30 counties that voted for Donald Trump but also voted for Barack Obama. And you know these people. So that is how we beat Joan Harris. That is how we win the country back. We have to remember that we are Americans and that we believe in our country, and we have to reach out to these people that most likely either didn't vote last time, maybe voted independent, or maybe voted for Donald Trump. A lot of them are not going to change. I'm not naive about this, right? I get this. But I think you know the ones that will. You know them in your lives, you know them at work. And these are the people we have to talk to. So I am really excited about the momentum we've had with that simple message that I don't want to be the president for half of America. I want to be the president for all of America. And because of that, after that debate, we raised from regular people online $2.1 million in 6 days. We did that. We got in our green bus, I'm looking at our great staff here, and went all over Iowa. We could actually get a bus because of that. That was really cool. We have been able to open now 10 offices in the state, expand our staff. We're doing the same thing in New Hampshire, where I filed for office the day before yesterday in a historic building there in their state house where they had pictures of Walter Mondale ice fishing. That was kind of fun for me. And that's what's happening. We are on the go, and we have now gone up in all the polls, and we are up to number 5 in Iowa, and doing similarly well in New Hampshire. And we made the December debates one of 6 candidates. So if people to tell your friends, because there's going to be a lot of focus right now on Michael Bloomberg and what's happening. And you know, anyone can get into a presidential race. Almost everyone has, right? So anyone can get into a presidential race. But what I've respected about some of these other candidates is that at least they're just saying their piece. They have views. We have some differences. We debate them. That's what we're doing on the debate stage. But I don't think any of them has said, well, I got in this race because I think the rest of the candidates aren't good enough. And that is, maybe he hasn't said it himself, but that's basically what they've been saying. And I just don't agree. I've been up there in that debate stage, and I've seen the strength of the candidates, including myself, up there. But that is what his claim is, and I just don't agree with this. I think that we have as a party, and especially your state, are going to evaluate these candidates and make a decision. And we don't need anyone coming in and telling us that none of them, with all of the work people have done for our country, are good enough. I don't buy that, and I don't think you do either. So, we are going to win this the right way. We're going to win this the grassroots way. We're going to win this with my color of green, the Tom Harkin and Paul Wellstone way, which means that we just surprise people. And you do that by suddenly, oh, they're saying, oh, all these people are showing up, all these money is coming in, all these people are talking about it. I see her on TV, and then you tell them why we're doing this for the right reasons. We're going to win, and we're going to win big. Thanks, everyone.
I hope you've enjoyed this. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you like this kind of coverage, please consider subscribing. Thank you.